Hello, everyone. I'm Susan Evans, your guest host for this evening's edition of Higher Ed Live. Higher Ed Live is the weekly web show for marketing and web professionals. Tune in to Higher Ed Live on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on higheredlive.com and join in the conversation on Twitter using the Higher Ed Live hashtag. And you can follow me at Susan T. Evans. In case we haven't met, I'll tell you a little about me. I work for Stoner, and we're a marketing and communications agency that works exclusively with education. I'm a senior strategist at Stoner, and I spend my time thinking about content, web governance, brand management, integrated channels, and the development of comprehensive marketing and communications plans for clients. The best part is I get to work with people like you, marketing and communications professionals in colleges and universities around the country. It's a great job, and I'm lucky to have it. I'm coming to you tonight from my home in Williamsburg, Virginia, because before joining Stoner, I spent 22 years working at the College of William and Mary. Tonight's show is all about the 2013 AMA Symposium for the Marketing of Higher Education. AMA is the American Marketing Association, and annually AMA hosts a conference geared to marketing professionals in colleges and universities. And in just a few moments, we'll kick off a preview show all about the conference slated for November 10th through the 13th in Boston. But before I introduce tonight's guests, I'd like to give a few nods to our sponsors. First, OmniUpdate. OmniUpdate is the leading web content management system provider for higher education. The company's web CMS, OU Campus, is secure and scalable with great tools and features, deployment flexibility, and an awesome user community. Are you going to Higher Ed Web 2013? Stop by the OmniUpdate booth then to watch live OU Campus CMS demos and enter to win awesome prizes. We're tweeting a link now. Higher Ed Live is also sponsored by Uversity, formerly Integral, the creators of the Schools app. Join Uversity on October 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern for their upcoming webinar, Maximizing Enrollment with Social Media, to learn about best practices in admissions marketing. We're tweeting a link out now. This month, Stoner is presenting 2 advanced web analytics webinars. This professional development opportunity is perfect for marketing and communications managers and directors who want to learn how analytics can inform their online strategies. It's also recommended for senior communications professionals, directors, and vice presidents who want to strengthen their understanding of Google Analytics. Institutions can register for individual webinars or receive a discount by signing up for both. We're tweeting a link out now. All right, let's get to our guests. Tonight there are 3 of you. We have Deb Maui, we have Jason Simon, and we have Quinn Meyer. And I'll ask each of our guests to tell us a little about themselves. We'll start with an introduction from Deb, and then Jason, and then Quinn.
Thank you, Susan. I'm really excited to be here tonight to talk about the AMA Symposium. My bio just got more interesting this week, but I spent the first 15 years of my career post-graduate school in consumer packaged goods marketing, working primarily for Unilever on brands like Suave and Axe. And then I decided that I wanted to work in an industry that I could have more passion for, and so I discovered higher ed and went to work for DePaul University in Chicago for about 7 years, and had a great opportunity there to manage their brand and do strategic marketing activities for them, doing web development, doing social media strategy, and most recently, I joined Stoner on Monday. Was my first day, and so it's a terrific opportunity for me to bring all of my experience in branding and marketing strategy and market research to Stoner. So I get to work with Susan and everybody else, and I'm very excited. So,
we are too.
Thanks.
How about you, Jason?
I'm Jason Simon. I'm the Executive Director of Marketing Communications for the University of California System. So I'm in the Office of the President, work with all 10 of our campuses, 2 of which were named in the top 10 of the Times Higher Ed top 10 universities in the world today, 6 of which are in the top 50. So got to get a little plug in there. I've been here at the University of California for almost 5 years now. And before that was in a very similar role at North Carolina State University, also the executive director of marketing communications there as well. And before that, spent some time working for a brand agency in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, working on some big corporate brands, Sony Ericsson and Red Hat, and some other corporate clients like that. And then before that, really began my career as a sports journalist. Thought I wanted to do media relations and everything related to college basketball, and found out afterwards that college basketball gyms can be lonely places after you're there a lot.
Great. How about you, Quinn?
My name is Quinn Meyer. I am the AMA Program Manager for the 2013 Symposium for the Marketing of Higher Education. I've been attached to this program since the Chicago event in 2011, so this will be my third cycle, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone in Boston this November. I'd like to turn over the majority of the program over to my 2013 committee members, Deb, Molly, and Jason Simon, and I'll come back later and give some people some specific details about the conference.
Great. Great. Thank you very much. Well, thanks for those introductions, everyone. It's great to have you here. And as I've already mentioned, tonight's show is a preview of the annual American Marketing Association's Higher Ed Symposium. And according to the AMA website, the symposium will bring together higher education marketing peers from all over the world to discuss cutting-edge approaches, new tools and technologies, and the hottest trends on the forefront of higher ed marketing. Sounds good, right? The theme of this year's conference is focusing on what matters most, and I was very intrigued by that theme. In fact, I hope we can start our conversation around that. Deb and Jason, I know, as Quinn's already mentioned, both of you are members of the Symposium Planning Committee, and it would be great to hear both of you share how that theme was determined and how the sessions and the programming will carry that theme out. So why did focusing on what matters most make sense for this symposium?
Well, I think I can go first. I think if you know, as the committee reviewed some of the paper submissions and some of the other things that were coming in, and as a part of trying to evaluate the program, you know, for me personally, I think a couple things really began to jump out. And the first was, you know, there were a lot of submissions that really had some creative and innovative campaigns or tactical things that were being done, but then quickly there began to have this real focus on measurement and how those campaigns were being evaluated and judged, and you know, with so many efforts really focused on outcomes and using digital strategies now, measurement has really moved to the forefront of people's minds. And so I think it was, you know, really this nice meld of kind of really new and creative thinking mixed with how do we continue to ensure that that these things are moving our institutions forward, and that we're really making a case for the role of marketing in our institutions.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. And in addition, I think that one thing we hear over and over again from marketing professionals is that there's too much to do and not enough time or money to do it. And with budgets getting tighter, with resources getting tighter, it's getting more and more important to focus, to prioritize and focus resources, and say no to projects that just don't make sense, and that can be very difficult to do in a higher ed environment. So what we want to do is help people understand how to prioritize what things are important, and then give them the tools to be able to actually focus on things, as Jason said, measure, make sure that as they go forward, they're continuing to prioritize and focus on the right things.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, you know, in visiting a lot of campuses, you know, the scenario is people start to do new things and they carry along with them all the things they were doing prior. So there's lots of activity and there's lots of decisions about wonderful new platforms and tools, but not that evaluation about things that maybe aren't as valuable and don't matter as much as they did at one time. So it's great to hear that the conference will focus around that theme. Deb, I have another question for you. As I was getting ready for the program tonight, one of the things that really caught my eye was something new that's going to be taking place at the AMA Symposium for Higher Ed this year. So there's going to be a 9x5 open mic round robin, and I think we really need to hear about that. What are you planning there? Tell us about that.
Well, one of the probably the biggest challenge that the committee faces is that we have so many great proposals that come in, and we have to go through all of the proposals and select a program that we think makes sense for this large and diverse group. But there are so many proposals that we look at that we think there's such an interesting idea there, and we'd love to hear more about it, and we think that the group would love to hear more about it. So so what we're doing is selecting nine people to give 5-minute just short segments about an idea, about something that they're working on, about something that's worked in an open mic format. The majority of those will be selected prior to the symposium, and then one lucky and brave individual will get to stand up and just give a presentation right there. So we're really excited about it. We think it's going to be very energetic and a lot of fun, and just give more people an opportunity to get up and talk about the interesting things that they're working on.
Great, great. Is there a way that folks who are planning to attend the conference should already be thinking and planning about being accepted for that open mic round robin? Is there a way that you're suggesting that folks apply?
Yeah, they should be thinking about those ideas that they'd like to present, and then some of the committee members will be tweeting and asking for people to submit those ideas prior to the conference, and then they'll be selected. So people should look for tweets with the AMA Higher Ed hashtag to get more information about that, or they can contact Jason or me for more information.
You know, one of the I've only been to the conference once. I was there in 2011, and one of the highlights for me as a presenter that time was the thing that you do on opening day, where folks kind of come up and give like a 30-second intro to the presentation that they're giving later, the session that they're doing. Is that something that you'll be doing in 2013 as well?
Yes, absolutely. And last year I was responsible for ringing the bell when people ran over, so I'm really looking forward to that assignment again. But yes, that's one of the highlights of the conference. Really, is those advertisements where people get up in the morning and give a pitch for their presentation, because it really gives people in the audience an opportunity to learn more than what's written on paper, and make just some pretty tough decisions between presentations.
What to attend, yeah.
I think it also just really gives people a sense of the presenters.
Yeah,
sure.
So it's a nice, real in-person way for people to get a sense of what the session's going to be like, and the sort of tone and tenor and energy level of the session will be like too.
Right. Yeah. You know, I go to a lot of conferences, and I'm sure you all do too, and that's the only one that I can think of that does something like that. So I think it's a really cool idea. So Jason, another thing that really caught my attention as I was preparing today was your keynote. Your keynote is the beginning of the first full day of the conference.
I know, no pressure.
I know, really. And as I was prepping for the show tonight, the title of your keynote really made me stop and smile. I want to hear a little bit about your topic. The title for your opening session is When Things Fall Apart, Reflections from a Disruptive Higher Ed Marketer. So tell us what you're going to talk about.
Well, first of all, I think that's a really good question. Quinn sent me a deadline today for the end of the month, and I guess that means I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to talk about. So when the committee actually initially asked me to do this, was coming right on the heels of our real social fallout around the introduction of the University of California logo. And you know, at that point, there was so much misinformation that was really out there, that was circulating as a part of the social buzz, that you know, part of what I was thinking was, you know, this is a real chance to to have a forum to be able to talk about all the steps that went into this. It was a little ironic for me that, you know, at the AMA conference last year, we and my team presented an advanced session on the success of the early phases of our branding platform and on the visual identity, and you know, less than a month later, it sort of all fell apart. So that's a little bit about where the title came from. You know, part of what I'm hoping to talk about is you know, to move a little bit away from the logo controversy and what happened there, and really talk more about you know, how we dealt with it, how having really strong leadership and having a real strong strategic framework that went into our work actually allowed us a chance to pivot and move forward. And you know, I also it's quite an honor to be able to stand there in front of all your peers and have this opportunity. And so, you know, I'm hoping that I'll point a little bit to some of the larger issues that we all face as marketers on our own individual campuses, and sort of what it means to be a higher ed marketer in these days when you know, it really is rising to a leadership level on all of our campuses. So that's a little bit of what I've got in my head. I need to put it to paper a little bit, and you know, but it's I'm really looking forward to the opportunity.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it, and I'm sure everyone else is too. It sounds like a great way to start a conference, a great way to sort of frame the themes and ideas that people are going to be thinking about as they spend a couple of days in Boston. So great. I'd also like to hear from both of you, Jason and Deb, just about how the AMA Symposium was going to address the challenges that are facing colleges and universities today. You know, it's almost impossible to open up a newspaper or go to a website or even go to Twitter without seeing some comment about the disruptive nature of what's going on in higher ed. So what do you think the key issues are on campuses, and how do you think that the AMA sessions will help marketing and communications professionals start to solve some of those problems? And Deb, maybe you could start with your thoughts about that.
Sure. Yeah. It's a scary place right now. It's a scary place right now because, as you said, every time you pick up the newspaper, there's more bad news. I think that that one of the biggest benefits to the conference is just the fact that we've got this huge number of higher ed marketing professionals together so that people can meet each other, share ideas, share challenges. And what we're trying to do is give people as many opportunities for that kind of informal networking, informal discussions around topics as we possibly can. I think it's no surprise what the biggest issues are on campus. I think probably the biggest issue that people are facing is declining enrollments and declining revenues. And if schools aren't facing that today, they are going to be facing that in the near future. And marketing plays a huge role in combating that, you know, in finding new and creative ways to increase enrollment and increase revenue.
Right.
So that's the first thing. I think the second issue is showing that your school provides value for the money, which of course all these things are intertwined, right? Because that's part of the enrollment issue. But showing outcomes in a way that's unique and compelling and meaningful for your institution, I think is something that every institution needs to think about. And again, that comes back to marketing, because that's about how do you convey that in conjunction with your brand messaging. How do you get that value message across in a way that doesn't dilute academic quality? So I think that's the second challenge.
Yeah.
As I said, I think the third challenge is limited budgets and limited resources, which again is a result of enrollment issues and state funding. But how do you do more with less? And that gets back to measurement and making sure that your programs are working and that you're eliminating programs that aren't working anymore. As you said, maybe they did in the past, but they aren't now. So making sure you're focusing on the right things. I think those are the biggest things that marketing professionals on campuses are facing, and the program that we've put together, I think, in large part helps marketers to address those issues.
Great. How about you, Jason? Or do you have any additional thoughts about how attendance at this year's symposium might prepare us as we try to respond to all the challenges in facing enrollment and fundraising and advancement at our various institutions?
Yeah, you know, I think that for years and years now, marketers and communications professionals, we've sort of fought our way to have a seat at the table, and now with all the challenges that we're facing, we have that seat, and marketing is playing such an important role. Whether it's market research, and so many schools now are doing actual programmatic evaluations and evaluating whether programs are sustainable and there's a market for them, or like I said before, the sort of the influence of everything around digital measurement and all those kind of things. It's all becoming so important, and now that we have a seat at the table, I think it's really interesting that the program that's been put together for AMA, it goes across that whole spectrum. And I think one of the challenges that we as marketers are having is that you can't really say it's not our issue anymore. I mean, you can't say it's just a brand issue, or it's just an enrollment issue, or it's just a fundraising issue, or it's this or it's that. The reality is that now that we've earned our way to have a seat at the table, we've got to engage in all of those various things, and we have an opportunity. And so I think the program kind of reflects that. There's a wide range of topics, and there's a wide range of people that you're going to hear from. We really are varying out from the folks that have presented in the past as well, and sort of adding some new voices and some new topics. So I think it's going to be a great conference.
I think that the committee was really pleased at the range of proposals that we got this year, and as Jason said, we got proposals in areas that we hadn't seen before, that historically marketing really hadn't been involved in, as programmatic development and pricing, and so that was great to see that marketing's now being involved in those conversations as institutions are realizing that they have to be more market responsive. And so the program reflects a lot of those new areas that we hadn't really seen proposals on in the past.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, Deb, you mentioned that you've got different folks submitting proposals than you may have in the past. Are there different individuals attending the conference as well? How large? And you mentioned already that there are a lot of folks who attend. How large is it? And do you have a sense of the range of institutions that are represented at the conference, and also what disciplines they represent? Because within marketing, obviously, there's many things that people could be doing in their daily activities.
Yeah. It's very exciting because this is the largest marketing conference in higher education. Last year we had about 1,000 people in attendance, and we're expecting to have at least that many this year, if not more, which is really terrific, because, as I said, it's such a great opportunity not only to attend great sessions but also to meet people, to network, to share ideas. But it's also one of the biggest challenges that we face as a committee, because it's a very diverse group. So we have people who are brand new to marketing in higher education, and we have people who've worked in marketing in higher education for 25 or 30 years. And so developing a program that appeals to a range of experiences is really important and also really challenging. In addition to that, we also have every type of institution in attendance, small liberal arts colleges, large publics, large privates, international institutions. We're seeing more and more international institutions attending, community colleges. So we're seeing a really diverse group of schools in attendance. And then within that, we are seeing people from many different functions. So traditional marketing communication, market research, enrollment, fundraising, and then even beyond that, we're seeing people from very specialized schools, maybe within a large university, so medical schools and law schools and business schools, and then on the other side, people who are much more generalists. So what we've tried to do is put together a program that has something for everyone, and I think that we've really worked hard to make sure that all of those are represented on the program, so that there will be something for everyone.
Are there ways that you try as a committee to bring people together with like institutions, or does that just happen organically throughout the conference?
Well, it does happen organically throughout the conference. People find each other, but we're also trying to bring people together around specific affinities and specific topics. So on Monday and on Tuesday, we have discussion groups that are happening at the end of the program on each day, where people can get together. The first day is around affinity groups, so things like religious institutions. Now I'm blanking on what the other ones are.
Could be like community colleges,
Exactly.
large state publics. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Business schools,
Business schools.
Okay. Right.
law schools. So.
Yeah, and then on the second day, it's the discussion groups are around more around topic areas. So things like new program development, measurement, partnerships between marketing and enrollment management, things like that. So that allows people to gather around affinity groups and then also around specific topics.
That sounds great. That sounds great. How about you, Jason? Let's get you back in here. How many years have you attended AMA, Higher Ed Symposium, and how has it changed over that time? And what about institutions that, well, let me ask you to answer the first one, and then I'll come back with my follow-up. So how long have you been attending these, and how has it changed?
Well, I think I've been in on the marketing side of higher education for about 10 years now, and I remember, I think it was either in my first or second year attending an AMA, and really chose to attend it and got a lot from it because I was new into higher education. And it's like Deb said, it was a way, since it's large, since it's several days, it's a great way for new people that are new or either new into marketing or new into higher education marketing to sort of dive in and really get acclimated and meet a lot of peers. I think that, to go back to something that I said before, I think that the conference has matured as sort of our industry has matured, and it feels like we're very much focused on strategy and outcomes and a whole lot of really creative and new marketing rather than sort of where we were before, which tended to be much more on the promotion. On the visual identity side, on the early side of things like websites and social strategies, now we kind of have moved beyond the tactical to the real strategic, and I think you see that in a lot of the sessions that are planned. I think the other thing too is that we've moved away from sort of some of the jargon and the vernacular that tends to accompany our industry and sort of these hard lines of various silos of our institutions. That we can now assume that somebody who is interested in marketing in higher ed needs to know about fundraising and needs to know about enrollment and needs to know about digital strategies and needs to understand how their annual fund might play into their brand and how their brand plays into the ability to recruit graduate students, or all of those kind of various complicated things. And so I think that the conference now reflects those, that the way those things have come together and that are strategic.
Right. That sounds great. So a bit of a follow-up to that. There are actually institutions out there, you all might find this shocking, that don't have official marketing programs. And I wonder whether or not there's a place for people who work in those institutions at this conference. Maybe they're in a communications organization or an advancement organization, but they don't have the word marketing in their title. So what do you have for those folks?
Well, I think that you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it marketing, you can call it communications, you can call it web communications, you can call it social strategy, you can call it visual. Anything that you want to call it, you can call it. But the functions are all the same. And the great thing about this conference is that this is a place to really sort of focus on all of those functions and the roles that they play. So I think that there's a place for somebody who comes from institutional research and planning to come to this conference, because a big portion of the agenda that we have is all about market research, and so those people need to come and get a sense of what are some interesting ways that surveying and market research and institutional research need to play into long-term planning for institutions. So I think that I think it's really going to be a great conference.
That's great. I wonder, with all the disruption that's taking place within higher ed, whether or not you think that more executives would potentially come to a conference like this? I know you have at least one college president attending because he's on the he's a keynote speaker, Paul LeBlanc from Southern New Hampshire University. But are there other presidents that attend this conference?
You know, I mean, I don't know if there's other presidents, but there definitely are other senior administrators. I mean, I think that we have a lot of vice presidents, chief communications people. We certainly have some deans that are in the mix from time to time. We have those people that participate even in presenter roles and wind up, you know, finding that they need to stick around and listen to some of the other presentations. So, you know, I think it's a great conference for people of varying levels. And I think that, you know, the theme of getting your leadership involved and the important role that being able to relate marketing communications plays to your leadership is certainly one of the things that's really there throughout the program too.
Great, great. Okay, now a tough question for both of you, putting you on the spot a bit because I know you've looked at a lot of proposals, you know what the program looks like in more detail than we do, but it certainly sounds like it's going to be rich and interesting and hard to choose when you have a particular time slot and have to figure out which event to attend. So without suggesting that the topic that you tell me about is going to be the only great one, give me a couple that you are just sure that you're going to attend and why you're planning to attend those. So Deb, I'll start with you.
Okay. Well, I have two, but I'll pick one. As I said,
give me two. Give me two.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, as I said, one of the exciting things this year is that we're seeing proposals in areas that we hadn't seen before. So I think that two of the most exciting proposals are around new program development and around pricing, which is pricing the neglected P in higher education. And historically, decisions about programs, new programs, and decisions about pricing have been made very internally. They've been made on institutional dynamic, based on institutional dynamics, and they've been made, they've been very faculty, well, at least program development's been very faculty driven, and marketing has not historically had a voice in those decisions around program development and pricing. So those are two of the proposals the sessions that I'm most excited about, because I think it's an opportunity for people, whether they have been invited into those conversations yet or whether they haven't, it's an opportunity to see what role marketing can play in pricing and program development, and how marketing can bring the external voice into the conversation, conversations about programs and about pricing. Marketing, the most important role of marketing is to represent the voice of the consumer, the voice of the target audience, and that's not done enough in higher education. And so so I think it's terrific that we have some presentations that are maybe a little bit out there for people, that help people to think about, okay, well, how might I shape this at my institution? How might I have a voice in this? What does that look like? And so I think those are great models for people, because I think more and more institutions are going to be inviting marketing into those conversations.
So Deb, I just want to make sure that I understand the terminology that you're using, because I've heard you say program development a couple of times, and now I'm thinking I understand you. Are you saying academic programs? So
yes,
I'm
sorry, academic programs.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
So the specific program that I'm talking about is Step-by-Step Guide to Developing Feasibility Studies for New Programs. So looking at market feasibility as an input into the new program development process.
Okay.
New academic program development process.
Okay. Very, very interesting topic. Very interesting. How about you, Jason? What are the couple that you're planning to attend other than your own keynote?
I have three.
Great.
You're not gonna make me whittle that down.
No, I'm not going to make you whittle it down at all.
So I'm excited about going to the presentation about the Temple Made campaign. I think that there still is a good place within this program and within the conference to really highlight some amazing sort of comprehensive branding campaigns, and the Temple campaign in particular over the course of last year just seemed like it was really terrific, and that came through in their paper proposal. And the interesting thing there is that it already had in its first year some real measurable outcomes, and then they just did some amazing stuff like live tweets on buildings in downtown Philadelphia and that kind of stuff that I just want to figure how the hell they got that through their the chain of people that they have there. I'm really excited about Jelly Helm's keynote. He's a name that some people attending may not know, but was a former executive creative director at Wyden Kennedy twice, quit both times, once to go back and be one of the founding faculty members at the Virginia Commonwealth Ad Center, so taught in higher ed for a while, and I think has a really, really nice perspective on purpose-driven institutions and the importance of institutions finding their purpose. And I think that's going to be a really inspiring and heartfelt keynote that a lot of people will take a lot from. And then I'm really excited about the crowdfunding panel, which is on the very last day of the conference. I mean, so many people are beginning to dip their toe into sort of crowdfunding, and I think that as those programs become more and more successful, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of brand impact they have, and I think that's part of what the group is going to talk about, and we certainly have some of the leaders in crowdfunding in higher ed that are a part of that panel discussion. So those are three that I'm particularly excited about.
That sounds great. Sounds great. How many total sessions are there? Ballpark. There must be.
Ooh, that's a question for Quinn.
Yeah.
So we have 48 paper sessions.
Right.
6 advanced marketing sessions and 5 keynotes.
Okay. Wow. 5 keynotes. Incredible.
Yep. And then on Sunday we have 6 pre-con tutorials.
Okay.
Well, excuse me, 5.
Wow.
5.
Wow. That sounds great. Anybody want to talk about those pre-conference tutorials and what the opportunities are there?
Well, typically, just to give you from a program standpoint, they're separate charge from the registration fee for the conference. So
sure.
Right now, before October 14th, which is our early bird registration cutoff, the tutorials will be $275, and then after that would be $300.
Right.
And yep, we have some tried and true that have been doing these for years. We've got a couple new additions this year as well, so good mix.
Great. That sounds great. So Deb and Jason, I'm assuming you all are like me and you go to a lot of different conferences, or at least over the course of your career you've gone to a lot of different conferences. What is special about the AMA Symposium? How is it different than other conferences you attend? How is it more worth your investment? What sort of stands out for you as you think about the conference compared to other professional development events that you might stack up against it?
Go ahead. Deb, do you want me to go?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So, I think that this is the one conference that everybody's at. It's a large conference. There are a lot of people there from across all kinds of various institutions, and then there's a whole bunch of various sort of interest areas or people that come from different perspectives. And so it's not like you're just going to go and talk just to the web people, or just to the digital people, or just to the social people, or just to the media people, or just to the enrollment people, or just to the fundraising people. All of those people are going to be at this conference, and then, quite candidly, the best thought leaders from outside our industry are there as well. Our partners, and the agency partners and the strategic partners and social partners that are all participating, because it is such a large conference. They're all there too, and so it's not just the conference sessions and the paper sessions and the other things that are going on. It's the hallway conversations and the side meetings that you can get and set up. And honestly, the biggest challenge for me last year was finding time to actually get into the sessions between needing to do work with the people that were there. And so it's a really great opportunity, I think, to all come together. To really get a look at some of the exciting things that are going on, and I think for people that are really, in the early stages of their career too, it's an exciting time to meet some of the key thought leaders in our industry. Generally those folks are all in attendance, and so it's a great networking opportunity as well.
Great, that sounds
yeah.
great.
I have a soft spot in my heart for this conference because it was the first conference I went to after I started at DePaul. And so I was in my job, I was still feeling like I had landed on another planet. And I went to the AMA conference, and there were all these marketing people there, and there were all these people who were like me. And it was like, oh, wow, I have people who I can talk to about things that we all understand. And so I've been very fond of this conference since I first attended it. And so I agree with everything Jason said. I also think that it's just the breadth of the sessions, the breadth of the topics in the sessions. I think it would be very difficult to find another conference that has such a wide range of topic areas to learn about, just by virtue of its size. So to me, that's another big benefit to it.
Right, great. So tell us a little bit about the people who are presenting. We've talked about the topics, and we've talked about some of the structure of the programming. How did you select the presenters, and what kinds of Jason's mentioned agency partners and campuses. What kinds of organizations do presenters typically represent, Deb?
Well, we work very hard to make sure that we have a diverse group of presenters. So we want to make sure that we have different types of institutions represented, and also have a range of topic areas. So it's a challenge.
I can imagine.
It is a challenge, but a fun one. What we did this year was we had agreed on the tracks, so the general track topic areas that we felt were important for the conference, and we in our session, or in our meeting face to face, we broke up into teams, and each team was responsible for developing an agenda for that track, so developing the recommended program elements for that track. And then the sub-teams came and presented to the large group, and of course we pushed it and pulled it and made modifications and changed some things in and out. But it was a really effective way to do it, and because I think we had a couple of people focused on each track, but then we also had the input from the larger group. So that was the first time we did it that way, but it seemed to work very well, and all of the proposals were considered equally, and everybody had a chance to provide input, but there was also a bit more focus.
That sounds great. Is this the first year that you've been on the planning committee?
This is my second year.
Second year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And how about you, Jason? Have you been on the planning committee before, and what was your experience, and what do you think are the most interesting parts of serving in that role?
Well, this was my first year on the planning committee, but
Okay.
I really was excited to be able to join and be asked. I think the great thing, I think that the conference is a reflection in a large part on the awesome paper submissions that we got, and then the committee itself. Quinn and our committee head, Terry Flannery from American University, just have great insight, I think, after having done this for a few years, and in what people are looking for, and sort of where the industry is headed. And we have people that are on the committee that are really thoughtful and caring about higher education and the role that marketing plays. And so we don't take the decisions that we make lightly in any way. And so there was a lot of poring over the more than 200 or 300, I can't even remember at this point, submissions that we got, and whittling that down, and going through and asking people follow-up questions, and all of those kind of things. That there was nothing that was really left to the side in looking through all of those submissions, because not only do we want to be able to have the best conference that we can for the people that are attending, but we want to ensure that it still remains a great opportunity for the presenters as well. It should mean something to be able to present at the AMA. That your peers selected your presentation among all of these folks to be able to stand in front, and so I think we were all really caring about making those choices.
Great. That sounds great. Great. So what else do you all want to talk about? Anything that I haven't asked you that you think is important for folks to know as they're considering how to spend their professional development dollars in what's left of 2013?
Well, I mean, like I said before, I think that the conference is such a great conference for, for anybody at any level. I mean, if you're a senior level person, you're going to have a chance to be able to have some really important senior level conversations with your peers. And if you're, I know for me personally, I've encouraged a lot of my staff to attend just because it gives a perspective outside of the day-to-day work that we do every single day. I mean, you can always learn something from other folks. And so, we look for ideas and inspiration, or even just a single chart here or there, a market research chart that might give a little bit of insight to a question that we want to ask in some market research that we do in the future. And so, I've really encouraged my staff to attend, and the folks on my team, and we're bringing people that are new, and bringing people that have been in higher ed for a long time too. So I just think it's a great conference. Definitely is going to be fun to be in Boston, and I hope that people will really prioritize it in their planning.
Great, great. How about you, Deb? Any thoughts about
I just think there's no better opportunity to meet other marketing professionals and to hear what other institutions are doing. There's tremendous value in that. I think in our day-to-day lives in higher ed, we tend to get can get very internally focused, and it's just an opportunity to sort of put all that aside and go and listen to what other people are doing. And as Jason said, if you can just bring back a few nuggets, a few ideas, a few things to explore, a different viewpoint, it's worth it. And then on top of it, just meeting all the new people.
Great. That sounds great. So Quinn, as we start to wrap this up, let's bring you in and ask you to share a little bit about some of the details. So how our viewers can register and attend. And as you're doing that, we're going to be tweeting out a link to the registration site.
Okay, great. Well, once again, from a logistics standpoint, the 2013 Symposium for the Marketing of Higher Education will be held at the Boston Marriott Copley, as mentioned, Sunday, November 10th through Wednesday, November 13th. And as far as registration goes, there is a huge date looming. October 14th is when our early bird registration ends. So if you register as a member before October 14th, your registration rate will be $675. As a non-member, $950. But then after that early bird registration date ends on the 14th, those reg prices will each go up by $100. So there's still $100 savings out there. So I would suggest to make use of that in the remaining days that we have. To do this, please register at marketingpower.com/higher ed, or by calling 1-800-AMA-1150.
Great, great. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight, and thanks also to tonight's Higher Ed Live guests, Deb Maui, Jason Simon, and Quinn Meyer. We really appreciate your insights about the upcoming AMA Symposium for the Marketing of Higher Education. And so thank you for being with us. As I close out the show tonight, I want to say to our audience, thank you. Thank you to all of you who work hard every day on marketing and communications for colleges and universities. We're going to dedicate the show to all of you tonight. I know you're making a difference on your campus, and I say kudos to you for your great work. That's it, folks. I hope you'll be joining us next Thursday night on Higher Ed Live when Amy Mengel talks about the anatomy of a viral video. Amy's pretty amazing, so you won't want to miss seeing her next week. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.